Howdy y'all, Little Dipper back here for another video for you guys. And I gotta tell you guys, I am steaming right now. I'm freaking steaming over all of this crap that has been going on lately about the Confederate flag and its symbolism for racism. I cannot tell you guys how pissed off I get from ignorant people who truly think that the Confederate flag is racist. Now, I'm going to, before we get into the quotes, I'm going to get into our dip and our mud jug. Mud jug of the Vidya camo mud jug. I gotta tell you guys, if I had a Confederate hat, a Confederate shirt, or a Confederate mud jug, or even a Confederate flag, I would be flying it right now. But I can't, because I don't have that stuff. So, what I will do is pack a lip. In honor of the Confederate flag, we're going to be packing some Copenhagen snuff. Can't tell you guys. Go ahead and pack us a lip. Copenhagen snuff. Let's get some more in there. Now, I want to get into the quotes here because I think it's really important that everybody knows the true nature of the Confederate flag. I want to start by saying what the Confederate flag truly is. Okay? Don't get me wrong, there are certain people who fly the Confederate flag that do not represent it as it was meant to be represented. I've heard from a lot of people that the KKK flies the Confederate flag, the Ku Klux Klan, which is a racist hate group. I cannot tell you how unfortunate it is that the KKK flies the Confederate flag. What I can tell you is that is not what the Confederate flag represents. And for all of you stupid sons of bitches that really think that, I'm going to give y'all a little history lesson. If y'all hadn't learned in school, which we do have down here in the South, the Confederate flag consists of two blue ribbons forming an X, and the area around it red, with white stars going across the blue ribbons. Does anybody want to raise their hand and answer the question to what the stars represent? You guessed it. The Confederate flag and its stars represent, get this, the Confederate States of America. You guys know how there's 50 stars on the American flag? Well, guess what? There are stars on the Confederate flag too. Guess what, guys? They represent the same exact thing as the American flag. What you think of that? 50 stars, 50 states. I don't know exactly how many stars there are on the Confederate flag, but what I do know is those stars represent the Confederate States of America. And that is all the Confederate flag represents. The Confederate States of America. Just like the American flag resembles the American States of America. The United States of America, I should say. Just like the Canadian flag represents Canada. Just like the Mexican flag represents Mexico. And just like the French flag represents France. It represents a group of people and a group of states that form their own country. Now, the Confederate States of America did not secede from the Union. They lost the Civil War, which means they stayed in the Union of America. Being a Confederate enthusiast, do I wish that the Confederate States won the Civil War? Honestly, no, I don't. I'm glad with how America turned out, other than these past few years of corruption and bullshit. But, anyways, let's move on to these quotes. These quotes I got from The Bill, or The Hill, thehill.com. Let me move on to this first quote. After just 2 minutes on the floor debate, the House passed a measure to prohibit the display of the Confederate flag on graves in federal cemeteries. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me, guys? Prohibit the display of Confederate flags. This is including Confederate veterans that died in the Civil War. They didn't die to keep racism. They died for the Confederate States of America. That's what this whole war was about. Yeah, you can say that the war was also on racism, which I'll give you this. Some of it was. But most of it was to prevent the Confederate States of America from seceding from the Union. Honestly, why would the Union care if the Confederate States had slavery or not, if it wasn't in the Union? They wanted to keep the Confederate States in the Union because the Confederate States had prosperous cotton farms and a lot of produce coming out of their country. Or their states, I should say. The Confederate States of America produced a lot of cotton. That's part of why they were blockaded in the Civil War, if you guys know about American history, the history of the Civil War. They were blockaded to prevent products from reaching out of the Confederate States. Because they produced so much cotton, a lot of countries purchased their cotton, giving them a lot of revenue. But anyways, I think that's absolutely ridiculous, guys, that Confederate flags are prohibited from display on federal cemeteries, considering the parts of the Civil War and the Confederate States of America and the flag and every single thing that happens to do with the Confederate States of America is not hate. It's not racism. Like I said before, yes, some people do fly the Confederate flag. But let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, that's not what it represents. You're hating on the people who fly it, not the flag itself. Alright? The flag by itself should not be hated upon. That is not what it represents. And to get rid of Confederate flags that fly over Confederate soldiers' cemeteries is absolutely ridiculous and, quite frankly, morally wrong. And these people should know that. But anyways, moving on to the next quote. We have National Park Director Jonathan Jarvis, I believe I said that correctly, issued a directive in 2010 that allows national cemeteries that commemorate a designated Confederate Memorial Day to decorate the graves of Civil War veterans with a small Confederate flag. The directive states that decorative flags must be removed as soon as possible once the Confederate Memorial Day is over. Again, Confederate Memorial Day. This has to do with Confederate veterans. This is ridiculous, guys. Come on. These people died for the Confederate States of America. That's what they loved, and that's what they represent. Only that. Not racism, not hate, nothing else. But their states. And I think we should have the moral capacity to honor them with what they fought for, whether it be right or wrong. And trust me, I do not think what they fought for is right or wrong. That is what they believed in. Just like the Crusades, those people believed in their religion. Yes, they slaughtered millions of people. But that's what they believed in. Was what they did right? Maybe not. Was slavery wrong? Absolutely. It was absolutely wrong. But to say that the Confederate flag resembles racism and what those people did is ridiculous. And you guys need a history lesson. Now this is another quote explaining why the Confederate flag being removed is not morally wrong. This quote says, "We can honor that history without the Confederate flag and all the dreadful things it symbolizes," Huffman said. I'm not quite sure who Huffman is. He sounds like maybe a representative of a state or a senator. I'm not quite sure. But he does say that we can honor their history. But saying we can do it without the Confederate flag is idiotic. The Confederate flag is what they fought for, and it's what they died for. And that's what they would want, is to be honored with it. And again, the Confederate flag and all its dreadfully, and all of the dreadful things it symbolizes. What were those again? Slavery? Was that about it? Hate against the black race? Come on, guys. That's not what it resembles. Quit hating on the Confederate flag and hate on racist people. That's what you need to hate on, not the flag itself, you freaking idiots. That's all we have for the quotes. Just thought I'd write those down and explain to y'all the asinine ideals that these people think the Confederate flag resembles. And it doesn't resemble that. And just like all the other Confederate flag videos on YouTube, I'm sure I'm going to get hate for this. Every video does. But to you people who hate on those videos, before you write some bullshit comment down because you're angry at the time, why don't you look up the history of the Confederate flag and what it resembles? Not on YouTube, not of people's opinions, on what it actually resembled at the time. Not on the people that fly it, but what the flag itself resembled. Please go and do that, and quit being such idiots, and quit being haters, okay? Have some common sense, and know what you're talking about before you say something completely retarded. Honestly. Jeez, man. Steaming. Before I did this video, I did watch Mudjug1's video on the Confederate flag, and watching that just made me so angry, guys. I can't even explain the anger I had. I don't get angry easily, but that is just absolutely ridiculous. And I thought I'd make a video on it. So that's going to do it for this video. Again, I'm sure I'm going to get shit tons of hate out the butthole, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to explain what you feel and your perspective on things. So that's going to be it for this video. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. Make sure to send out and shit out those comments that I know y'all are going to have. But like I said, please do some research. Figure out what you're talking about. I'll see y'all on the dip side.